Thank you for listening to this podcast from International Living Radio.
In 2008, Andy and Fran Browne had to make a decision. They were both 58 years old, and they had both just been laid off from their jobs. They knew their savings wouldn't give them the kind of retirement they had planned on in the United States, so they started doing the research. And they ended up in Costa Rica. After trying out several locations, Andy and Fran now rent on beautiful Hermosa Beach on Costa Rica's Pacific coast. This week on Finding Your Overseas Paradise, we talk to Andy and Fran Browne.
Andy, Fran, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We'll get into your background in a second, but first I want to ask you about your renting strategy. A lot of people move offshore, and the first thing they do is buy a place. They want the house of their dreams. You guys decided to rent. What's the rationale behind that? What's the strategy?
Well, to be honest, we have always owned homes. Everywhere we've lived in our lives, we've always moved to a new city, we've bought a home, and we've been very, very happy with it. And fortunately, we've managed to go ahead and make a little bit of money on each sale. But now things are totally different. We're in a situation right now where we've cashed in all of our assets, and we have everything sitting in our nest egg, so to speak, our war chest. And there's a finite amount of money to that. And if we were to go ahead and take the necessary money it would take to buy a home here in Costa Rica, we would be taking that money right off the top. That would lessen the amount of money that we would have to earn interest to go ahead and cover our other ongoing expenses as the years progressed. What we've done was to adopt a different type of strategy. We've taken the money that we would have used for a home, and we're applying it to a long-term vacation strategy. So instead of taking $250,000 or $300,000 and buying a house with it right now, we've got the luxury of renting, not committing to a fixed piece of property, and use $250,000 over the next 15 or 20 years to take vacations, things that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. In essence, that's really what it boils down to.
And plus, I like the idea that we're free.
Yeah.
We're free. We can stay here for a while and go there for a while and not say, oh man, we can't move because we have to sell a house.
And that's the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, because this obviously is not going to be the last place you ever live. We've talked before about this. You guys have other plans. This renting strategy helps you fit those other places into your plans as well. But I know you did research on Costa Rica before you got here. What brought you to Costa Rica first? Because this was your first stop outside the U.S., yeah?
Just to digress for a second, we came to Costa Rica about 12 years ago on a business trip, had a blast, fell in love with the country. We were here for a couple of weeks, and for about the next 10 years, we basically joked to one another that, you know what, if we were to ever retire, or when we retire, wouldn't it be cool to go ahead and just live in Costa Rica? And that got to be a running joke with us, but in and around mid-year 2008, things were not looking very good for us from the standpoint of maintaining our jobs. We were looking very seriously on losing our jobs, and then in August of '68, Fran lost hers. A few months later, or actually less than a month later, I went ahead and talked to my employer and was able to secure a release package from my relationship with a large bank. And so essentially, both of us became immediately unemployed, and we had our benefit structure that would take us for about the next 9 or 10 months. It's at that point in time we started researching like crazy and looking into our other alternatives. We realized that with our fixed amount of money right now that that war chest was only going to last X number of years, and I think by the time we added up the spreadsheet, it was somewhere in the 7 to 9 year range. So all the savings that we did over that time, we were going to run out of cash in about 7 to 9 years. We were about 5 to 6 years away from from qualifying for Social Security. So there was going to be quite a while that we were going to have to fund ourselves. We needed to figure out a way to make that war chest last a lot longer, find a place that we could live and spend a lot less. We looked throughout Central America, not making personal visits, but doing a lot of research online, reading, talking to people who've made the move. And then went through a list basically and said yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and figured out those countries that would be most conducive to what we wanted to do. And Costa Rica kept rising up and kept becoming higher and higher on the list.
And Fran, you mentioned traveling around. You're the one that I know from talking to you over the last couple of days who wants to travel around and see stuff. What's next on your list? What's got your interest?
I don't know. I think Argentina might be kind of fun.
Yeah? Why's that?
Sounds interesting. Sounds exotic. I really have no reason. I could take a map and just throw a dart at it. I mean, there's a huge world out there. I want to see as much as I can. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, we're not going back to the United States other than to visit because we've done that. You know, we'll try Costa Rica for a while, and maybe we'll use this as a base and then compare places to Costa Rica. Or maybe we'll say the hell with it and just pack our stuff up and go try another adventure. This is a big adventure.
But you guys have plotted this out pretty well financially with the spreadsheets. You know what your overhead is. You know what you can afford to do. So you've actually built the ability to go in and explore those other places into your financial plan, yeah?
Yes.
No question about it. And when we go ahead and begin investigating other places, we'll apply the same logic that we used when we selected Costa Rica and apply it to those costs in other countries. One of the first things that we would, of course, do is healthcare was the biggest thing for us. Right. That was the determining factor that said, that's the reason why we couldn't live in the United States. And while Costa Rica isn't free, it could be if we totally subscribe to the national health care plan, but we're not. We're paying for our health care out of pocket, which fortunately for us is a fraction of what it costs in the United States. But we would apply that same logic when we begin looking at other countries, be it Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, any of the other countries that we would perhaps feel comfortable moving to. We would apply the same sort of logic to that potential as we did for Costa Rica.
Now, you guys are like most retirees that we know, or people that have left the United States, not just sitting around rocking on the front porch or going out and taking fishing trips. You're keeping yourselves busy, and Boomers Offshore has a lot to do with that. Tell me a little bit about Boomers Offshore and what's involved with that.
Well, I've been an amateur hobbyist, if you will, videographer for many, many years. While we were still living back in the States, I turned that hobby into a small business to where we produced short documentary videos. We literally shot everything that we did, a lot of vacation work. And then there was the for-hire videos that we would do, shooting weddings, parties, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, you name it. And it got to be a nice little lucrative sideline for us back in the States. When we wanted to move and made the decision to move overseas, the concept was to go ahead and let's record everything and document everything that we're doing as a chronicle to perhaps those that would want to go ahead and maybe follow in our footsteps or maybe even avoid what we're doing. So we pretty much wanted to open ourselves up to the interested public who would want to see the kind of things that we're going through from a research standpoint and from an execution standpoint, because we spent hundreds of hours online talking to people, reviewing things over the internet, making Skype long-distance calls, talking to people just like ourselves who went before us. Some who were in the situation where they wanted to go in that same direction as us, so they were kind of paralleling where we were. I guess my goal with Boomers Offshore was I wanted to produce a resource for other people that would have been a huge benefit to me right now in that process. If I'm making enough sense here, I wanted Boomers Offshore to be a resource for other people to see what we did right, what we did wrong, and to see if moving to a foreign country would be something that would work for them.
And you use skills that you had before your move that were transportable. You can do that from here. You could do that from any place you had a broadband internet connection.
That's it. All I need is a recording device, a microphone, a camera, an internet connection, and I'm good to go.
And most of the videos that we did, which I thought were kind of silly, people like we did a video on what kind of packing tape to use. I mean, to me that sounded ridiculous. But the thing is, we used the wrong tape. It's cold in Charlotte. Our stuff was in the garage. And when it warmed up, when the truck was coming, it all popped open. So, we thought, well, maybe this is beneficial for someone to understand that maybe you need to buy the better tape so your boxes don't all explode open. So we did a lot of silly videos, but I think they really helped people.
I think one of the silliest videos we ever did was we were already over in country and visiting some friends of ours who live in Esparza. And we needed to go ahead and, while we were in country, we needed to do some laundry. So our friends Deb and Rob said, well, come on back, just use our washer and dryer. And as it turned out, I think it was only a washer only, if I'm not mistaken. But we got to the machine, and we've never seen a washing machine like this before. It was something not.
It's a Tico washing machine.
Tico washing machine. And you weren't beating your clothes on a rock, but you literally had to fill up a tub, put your clothes in it, set it onto a spin, manually empty it, then manually fill it again, and it was hilarious. So I shot a video of Fran doing it, and this video I think has gotten more hits than any other video that we've put online right now. And what it did was it just showed people that things are not going to be the same as they were back in the States, and we put a comedic flair to it, and as it turned out, it was a huge success. People loved it and gained a better appreciation for what a new lifestyle would be like here in Costa Rica.
Fran, you guys have kids back in the States, family back there. Number one, how did they react to you moving to Costa Rica? And number two, how do you keep in touch with them now?
Well, we have two boys. The older one, 34 years old, I believe, around there. He was pretty upset. He was not very happy about it. He kept saying that, Mom, I can't believe you're doing this. They kidnap people in Costa Rica. I was like, come on, it's not an island. You're smarter than that. The other one, who's a free spirit, about 28 years old, said, man, go for it. It's wonderful. So both of them have visited since and love it here and fully understand why we did it. The older one had to look at the spreadsheet because he's more methodical about things. The younger one likes to party, so he was like, go, it'll be great. But we have Skype. So we can talk to them. I have grandchildren. I can see them. We have Magic Jack. We instant message each other. So it's kind of the same. I mean, what's the difference if I live in Charlotte or I live in Costa Rica? They lived up north. So I don't find it a big problem at all. In fact, I think we talk even more now.
I bet you do. When you guys first started in Costa Rica, I know you lived someplace else. But so it's obvious that when you make a move like this out of the States, it's not going to be the last move you ever make. But what got you from where you were originally, up in the mountains, down to the beach? Did you not think of the beach at first, or what was the process behind that? How did you make that move?
The most important thing for us was when we came in country, we needed a place that we could go ahead and put our stuff, unload our bags, and be able to stay. We just wanted a solid place that we can go ahead and move to. It really didn't matter. All the research that we did pointed to the area in Costa Rica that's known as the Central Valley. Now, the Central Valley is a very large area, encompasses almost all the land masses from San Jose, which is right in the center of the country, and moving for about, I'd say a good hour's drive west of there towards the Pacific coast. And all of that area represented the Central Valley. What we liked about it was that in order for us to keep our costs down, we needed to be using a lot less electricity. So that meant we needed a place that didn't require heat, didn't require air conditioning, and it allowed us to go ahead. We wanted to be close to hospitals, close to an airport. So we found the town of San Ramon, and that looked really, really exciting to us, and started doing research on that. Found out that San Ramon had a strong expat community. It had a really good hospital right in town. It was about a 45-minute ride to the beach when we wanted to go ahead and have fun at the beach. It was also about a 45-minute to an hour drive to the San Jose airport. It really offered us the best of all worlds. We started networking. We started meeting people. During that time, we made multiple trips to Costa Rica, and through this internal networking, we went out and just started traveling, and we stayed in some motels, in some casitas, local small houses in the area, and got to know people. And from there, we were able to go ahead and find out where the opportunities were, and something fell one day. Because we got a flat tire, something fell flat in our laps, and we wound up finding a house right where we had a flat tire. And it was just one of those things. But the bottom line is, you need to be here in order to make the deal. You're not going to find the places you want to be on the internet, because a lot of those things are going to be false information. They're going to be lost leaders. They're going to be things to entice you and get you turned on to Costa Rica. But by the time you come here and you're ready to put your money down and do it, they're going to be gone. So you got to be here in order to go ahead and cut the deal. And for us, that's exactly what happened. Through networking with friends, we were there, we met the people, we started exchanging emails, photographs, and next thing you know, we said, okay, we're coming back in January, and at that time, we'll have a deal cut. We knew exactly when we were going to land in Costa Rica. We knew exactly where to tell the shipper where to send our belongings. And when we landed at the airport, we had a car ready, and we drove to our new home. And it could not have been any simpler for us. We didn't have to worry about landing here and then scrambling to find a place to live.
But after around 10 months, in that area, we kind of decided it was a little too cold for us. It was a little too rainy for us. And we're beach people. We grew up in South Florida. We love the beach. We don't like the heat, but we love the beach. So we ended up visiting some friends in Guanacaste, and we kind of looked at each other and said, we don't own anything. Why don't we live at the beach for a little while? So we're at the beach. We've been here a year now.
And that rental strategy works
for us.
Yeah.
We found the place through networking again, and we're pretty happy at this house. Who knows where we'll be next year? Maybe we'll stay here. Maybe we'll say, let's go to the rainforest. I don't know. I just don't know. We're open for anything.
From a personal, emotional point of view, biggest challenge for you guys moving offshore or living in Costa Rica? Fran, what's the biggest challenge? We know it's not unalloyed paradise here. People face some challenges when they move out of their comfort zone, move offshore. For you, what's the biggest thing?
I'm very surprised. I found it quite easy. I was real worried. My Spanish skills are horrible, absolutely horrible. But I have this pathetic look, and I'm very good at sign language and kind of reading their mind. I seem to get what I need. I have not found a lot of obstacles, but I'm a very laid-back person. If they come tomorrow, that's fine. If they come the next day, that's fine. It just doesn't really upset me. Well, on the other hand, Andy's more of a type A person who's freaking out about certain things. So for me, I have not found, I'd say the one thing that was emotional for me is I hate bugs and I hate dirt. And there's lots of bugs and there's lots of dirt. But after a while, you just kind of get used to it. I used to see a bug and run the other way. And now I'll actually take my shoe off and kill it. So, I think Andy has a little more challenges because he gets a little more upset about things.
Andy, number one challenge for you?
She nailed it right on the head. It's all my professional life I've been involved in dealing with efficiencies and corporate environments. I've been everything I've done professionally has always pushed me in that direction. Well, when you come to Costa Rica, things are different. The attitudes are different. Fortunately, I knew a lot of this beforehand. I started doing my best when I was back in the States, trying to go ahead and be more tranquil about things, but. No, put me behind the wheel of a car in a high-stress, high-traffic situation, and I go off the deep end. And it happened back in the States. It just happened to me yesterday.
That's an excellent point, though, because wherever you go, you bring yourself with you. And we talk to a lot of people who think that moving to a different culture will instantly change them, and it really doesn't. You're yourself wherever you are. You just have to use what you have within yourself to deal with your situation.
It boils down to a very important phrase, and that is, don't ask why, and it is what it is. If you ask why do you do this? Why are you doing that? It's going to do nothing more than upset the heck out of you because things are different here. Don't expect Costa Rica to be the same as it is in the United States. Processes are different. People are different. And the entire way of doing things here are different. Don't ask why they do things the way they do in Costa Rica. And it is what it is. Accept it. if you can't live by those two things, you either should not come here or you should really have a serious plan B and figure out a way that you can go to a place and live the life that you like to live.
I think I just got your biggest single piece of advice for expats, Andy. Fran, biggest single piece of advice for anybody thinking about making the move?
Do it. It's an adventure. Just do it. And isn't it better to have tried than to just talk about it? I mean, we're here living a great life, and we don't have to work anymore. So every time Andy gets upset about something, I said, you could be at work. I said, so just give it a try. It's really easy. It sounds difficult, and you spaz out about all the little things you got to do. It's really a piece of cake, and you can live a great Pura Vida life and have fun and have an adventure. Just do it.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. And thanks for putting us up for the last couple of days. We really enjoyed it.
Oh, awesome.
It's been our pleasure. We've had a blast.
Sign up for International Living's free daily postcards at internationalliving.com/radio and get a free report on the world's top retirement havens. These free daily postcards will give you more information on living the good life for less overseas. Thanks for listening to International Living Radio.
La cumbia soleña yo la bailo con placer, la bailo a todas horas hasta el amanecer. La cumbia se ha robado de las olas el vaivén, la bailo a todas horas, me coge el amanecer.